G'day guys, Fitcho here. Now today we're going to be answering the question, what if Formula 1 returned to Imola? Now the idea of F1 returning to Imola has been thrown around a lot over the last few years, possibly replacing Monza as the host of the Italian Grand Prix, but things seem to have fallen quiet over in Italy over the last few months, and it's seeming less and less likely that Formula 1 could return to Imola. But nonetheless, let's have a look at what could possibly happen, what the racing and on-track action would be like if Imola did return to the calendar. It's something that's always been a problem with Imola, or people saying it's a problem with Formula 1 possibly returning there. They're saying there isn't that many overtaking opportunities at this classic track. So we're going to see what it is actually like to race on this track today. We're on Assetto course, so we've got a field of 24 Ferrari SF70Hs, which of course are the 2017 Ferrari car. Now a little bit of history about Imola before we get into this. The track was built back, I believe, it was post-war, either late 40s or early 50s, I can't remember exactly. It held a non-championship round in 1963, and then 17 years later, it held the Italian Grand Prix, its first official Formula 1 championship race in 1980, under the name Italian Grand Prix, and that was actually the first time in the history of the Formula 1 World Championship that the Italian Grand Prix had not been held at Monza. And then in 1981, it became the San Marino Grand Prix, and the Italian Grand Prix went back to Monza, of course, and Imola was a staple on the calendar all the way through right up until 2006, and it dropped off the calendar and it hasn't returned since. Now, of course, the old Imola, it was very, very quick, and there was that tragic weekend in 1994. It led to a few changes. Corners like Tamburello and Villeneuve have now been changed into chicanes, and that does present some more overtaking opportunities, which should, in theory, help the racing. So we're going to see how that goes. Of course, they've also removed the final chicane where Barrichello had his big crash in 94. I can't remember the name of the corner though. Variante Bassa? Yeah, that sounds familiar. That's the final chicane that they have removed. So that is one less overtaking opportunity from some previous versions of the track, but there are still chances to overtake, especially down into turn 1 Tamburello. You got the hairpin, and then towards the end of the lap, the second last corner, and the chicane before that. There are definitely places to overtake here at Imola if you are aggressive. We're going to see what the racing is actually like. Let's jump into it. Here we go, we're on the grid here in Imola, in last place as per usual, 24th out of 24 as the revs rise, the lights are on, and it's lights out, and away we go. A lot of wheel spin off the line, but I've worked out that's the best way to get these cars off the line. You can just see the Assetto Corsa AI are absolutely terrible at getting off the line in these cars. And I've noticed one thing, they always open the DRS immediately off the line, so I don't think that really helps their starts. As down through Tamburello we go on lap number 1. We get that move done on the 5th place car, and we are now up into 5th place, is up towards this fast and tricky chicane. That exit curve is quite dangerous if you get onto it, and the AstroTurf just on the other side of it is now down to the hairpin. That is definitely a good overtaking opportunity here at Imola if you can get late enough on the brakes, and if you get a good run, you can overtake up here into this left hand as we try exactly that. They try to leave in the space. We do force him a little bit wide, but nonetheless, we get the move done. This isn't really an overtaking opportunity unless you get really, really desperate down into that double right. I can't remember the names of many of the corners here at Imola. Is now down towards the chicane. Use a fair bit of curb. Careful of the AstroTurf there on the right-hand side of the track. That is really, really deadly, that stuff. It is so easy to drop the car out of there. It's now down to this very heavy braking zone. This is definitely an overtaking opportunity down there. Now through the final corner, a little bit too much curve there, as onto the pit straight we go. Open the DRS flap onto the pit straight. Of course, there is only really one opportunity for DRS here at Imola, and that is the pit straight, as we use a whole lot of our a little bit of grass, and we get that move done. Is now hard on the brakes, back down to 3rd gear for the Tamburello chicane, and we get that move done. Now up into 3rd place, and the front two have got a little bit of a lead, so we're going to have to really get our heads down if we want to catch up to them in this 5-lap race. Now, on a side note, ignoring what the racing is actually like, this track is amazing to drive. Just like Zandvoort, it is really a driver's track. It is so much fun to flick the car around here, push to the absolute limit. It was one of those few tracks that was just an absolute pleasure to drive. Careful, that AstroTurf, being very careful on the throttle there, the car dancing around a little bit on me as we are starting to catch up to the front pair hard on the brakes a little bit late. We just get the car stopped there as we flick through the final corner. This is, of course, where the final chicane used to be, which could have been a good overtaking opportunity, but of course, that is no longer there here at Imola as we come onto the pit straight. I forgot to use my DRS straight, and we'll use a little bit of our ERS as we head down towards Tamburello and hard on the brakes, flick it through this chicane, careful on the throttle, careful of that exit curve as well. That one is a real killer. Is now down, I think this is the Villeneuve corner, Villeneuve chicane, I can't quite remember exactly, is now down to the hairpin, but we are not close enough to challenge the two cars in front. A little bit of understeer, I feel the fronts just scraping along the ground. Not a nice feeling, especially at a tight corner like that. Is now up to this fast left-hander as we drop down to this difficult double right. It's very hard to get the car stopped for that second part because that first right-hand kink is right in the braking zone, so you sort of got a trail brake through there, and it makes it very, very difficult as through the chicane we go. We are now right on the back of the front two. We're going to use a little bit of ERS. Can we try something? We're going to have to go to the outsides. We've got a bit of a run here hard on the brakes. Are we able to do this around the outside? Well, on the outside for the final corner as well. Go for a little bit of a switchback back on the ERS. Open up the DRS and we get that move done up into second place as now we start lap number 4 of 5 here at Imola. We've got one car standing between us and victory as down towards the Tamburello chicane we go. Use a little bit of curb there, and now careful of this curb. That curb really does not like to be touched in these cars. I find as we're starting to catch up to first place. We're not going to be close enough to throw it up the inside of this hairpin, and this is where it gets tricky because after this hairpin there's not many proper overtaking opportunities until the second last corner, so you sort of just gotta be patient through this part of the circuit. It was a bad run through the chicane, just got a bit too much curb there on the left hand final bit of that chicane as they come down to the last complex of corners, hard on the brakes, a little bit deep there, up into third gear through the final corner. Now onto the pit straight, about to start the final lap of this race. We're going to go for a big push of the ERS in the slipstream with the DRS, and we have a mega run on first place, and we're just going to take it away from him just like that. That was a very easy overtake to execute, but to be fair, you can get those sort of overtakes done at pretty much any track nowadays with the implementation of DRS into Formula 1, and just like that we're up into the lead of this race, and we should hopefully be able to hold on to this right till the end. There aren't many overtaking opportunities from now until the end of the lap, just that second last corner really, so just going to pull a little bit of a gap, make sure there's a little bit of distance between us and him, and we should be able to pick up the win here. It's down to the last real overtaking opportunity of the lap, and we have enough of a gap. Just turn it in nicely up to the final corner, clip the apex back on the power, use a little bit of our ERS. Why not just use the rest of it, make sure there's absolutely no chance of him coming back to us, and we win the race here at Imola. Far out, I've worked up a bit of a sweat during that race. It is bloody hot here right at the moment. Let me check. What is the temperature? Let's go on to Snapchat. It is 40 degrees right now here in Melbourne. That is absolutely crazy. I'm starting to sweat. I do apologize for you having to look at my sweaty face after that race. But that race wasn't actually that bad here at Imola. There were definitely opportunities to overtake. I didn't think the racing was that bad. And from a driver's point of view, the track is bloody awesome. It is so much fun to drive. And I think F1 coming back here wouldn't be all that bad in terms of the racing. Like I said in the previous video when we had a go at this around Zandvoort, like Monaco is still on the calendar due to historic reasons and whatnot, and it's almost impossible to overtake there. You can definitely have better racing here at Imola, and I think it is a good track. It's known as the home of Ferrari in many ways, of course. It is called the Autodromo Enzo Dino Ferrari. It was named after Enzo Ferrari and his son Dino Ferrari. Both of them, I believe they changed the name, I don't know, back in the 80s, I think, when Enzo passed away. This is known as the home of Ferrari, more so the Monza, I believe. So I think the Ferrari fans, the Italian fans, would love Formula 1 to come back to Imola. The drivers would love it to come back to Imola because it's such a fun place to drive. And the racing isn't all that bad, I don't think. From that race, it was definitely possible to overtake. The racing wasn't too bad, and I think it is feasible. So that is going to do it for today, guys. If you got any other sort of tracks that you want me to try out that F1 might return to or could go to in the future, tracks that they've never been to before, or historic tracks that they have been to in the past but don't race at anymore, you want me to try this sort of thing at any of those tracks, let me know down in the comments below. I do enjoy doing these sort of what if Formula 1 did this sort of videos. I've done one at Zandvoort, now I've done Imola. I've got a few more lined up. I've got a pad of paper with a few ideas written down. There'll definitely be some more of these in the future. And if you got any ideas, like I said, comment them down below. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure you do smash that like button. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you do subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.